3. You're going to be a little behind. So,
hi everybody! Welcome to the 10th episode of Resellers Roundtable. Sorry about that, guys. Episode number 10. I'm Scott.
I'm Alton.
And I'm Brian.
All right, so we are kicking off this episode. So we are happy that everyone is joining us for our last podcast of the year. As you may notice, of the year. As you may notice, there is a few changes to the show. Kevin, unfortunately, will not be joining us to the roundtable going forward. We are sad to see him leave, but his decision was based on some personal things going on. So we do wish him the best in his journey, but the show must go on. So I believe Scott has our topic for tonight. So let's get us kicked off.
Thank you, Alton, for addressing that. Our topic tonight is listing and quality of listings. We're going to go over this in a couple different aspects, and I think Brian is going to start us off with breaking it down and talking about what a quality listing is.
Okay, guys. When we're talking about a quality listing, there's a couple different ways you can look at it, but eBay breaks down the most important information because they actually provide eBay's quality listing report, and you can actually download this through your cells, and it breaks down the different components that eBay rates you on versus other sellers. You can see where you rank. I just looked it up real quick right before we jumped on, and I think I saw it was 82 in men's shorts out of all sellers, and that's based on your gross sales. But within that, they actually break it down by what they consider a good listing. And these are the things we're going to talk about, not like everything in the report, but just be aware if you really want to get into the nuts and bolts of it, that quality listing report will show you suggestions, improvements, and how you're doing, anywhere from photos to number of keywords in the title to your return policy and everything else. To me, when I think about a quality listing, and I will keep saying this because
I think we lost Brian. We'll give him a second here.
We did.
This is the beauty of editing for a podcast. So he won't notice he come back. So
okay, sorry about
there we go. You're back, Brian. So
welcome back.
Anyway, quality listings. You start with, like, if you think about the listing process, and I know Alton's going to, I think, talk about it at the beginning, but it does start at the beginning, the buy. But I'm going to focus on when you get the item home or wherever you're doing the listing. You get the item, you've got to photograph it, and the photographs are one of the things eBay's rating you on. The number of photographs, the different angles that you're showing the item from. Like, I primarily do clothing, men's clothing, so I like to get 10, 11, 12 photos to be able to, especially if there's any flaws or anything, you want to show the item in its true accurate color, vibrant pictures. We could talk about white background or not later if we like. But you get your pictures, and then for me in the process, like I will do a batch of, say, 40 photographs or 40 sets of photographs at a time. I then download it to my computer, upload the pictures, and then I begin creating the listing part. And on the listing part, you have the title, the item specifics, and the price. To me, those are the biggest chunks. And you want to develop a good title. And eBay, once again, has told us what a good title is. There are exceptions to this, but basically you want, like, if you're talking about, let's just say a Polo Ralph Lauren shirt, right? You want to start with the brand, what it is, gender, size, and then the other key attributes or keywords. So it could be a Polo Ralph Lauren button-down shirt, men's extra, extra large, and then you could be your color, right? Green, big pony, etc., long sleeve, button down. So that would be your title. And the way you write your title is so important. And this is going to tie into the main point. I know I'm talking here, so if I'm talking too much, guys, just tell me to shut up. But you're creating an important. Let me breathe. Creating an accurate title is so important. All right, then you got to fill out your item specifics, the ones that are relevant, and then you've got to, let's just say this, you've got great pictures, you've got a great title, you've got all the correct item specifics, but if you don't price your item correctly, pricing is probably the most important part. Like if you're out of the market, no one's ever going to buy it, and then you've got to price it correctly. And this is the main point I want to make, that if you try to rush this process, and a lot of people don't like the listing process, like I myself, earlier in the year when I went to clothing, I used Hammock, I used Sellhound, and by the way, check out Texas Treasures. You can watch my videos on this. I have one on these topics. But I hired out listing services and then eventually my own virtual assistant. And the thing is, like if they list 50 items for you a day, you can be fooled because some of your items will sell just because they're really good items that people are going to find anyway. But as you go looking at your older listings, what I have found, and I made a video on this, how to fix your old listings, is that I have items that were over a year old that hadn't sold. And I went into the listings to see what I ended them, and I'm a sell similar. Then I look at it. The titles are horrible. They don't follow the title keyword structure. They're making mistakes. Like they'll have a men's pair of jeans listed as women's in the sizing drop-down menu where eBay gives you specifics you need to choose from. They're creating their own. And all these things are creating a situation where your item cannot be found via search, whether through the title or the item specifics. So the biggest thing I would recommend is take your time, especially if you're niching down, become an expert. Like I know Alton does Funkos, and I'm sure he's an expert on those. He knows them probably inside and out. Whereas I sat down and tried to list a Funko, it would be a long, hard process. I'd be reaching out to him, help me with this. But take the time to learn your niche or niches, master it. And then if you want to hire help, whether it's a live person that you're going to train or your own virtual assistant, that's okay, because then you know how to train them how to do it. But if you haven't learned your niche and then you try to use a listing service, you're just asking for a giant store that will not sell. So just be careful with that, guys.
And then you talked a little bit about pictures. Are you using your phone, or are you using a camera, or are you using something else?
Me? Yeah, I have a Galaxy S21. It has a good camera. Mm-hmm. I have a lanyard. I don't know where I put it, but I have a phone lanyard where this fits into the case. Mm-hmm. The lanyard goes around my neck, and then I use that to take photographs because I think my light box just fell apart. Might have to upgrade that. But anyway, so yeah, I'm just using my phone because I can use a USB and plug that straight into the computer to download it. Mm-hmm. And I do use the pro settings where I adjust the ISO, the temperature, and I forget one other setting where you can get those real accurate controls. So right. Yeah, I do use my phone.
But that just balances out your color ratios. So when you make sure you're getting the true accurate color for your item. Not every item needs that, but especially with clothes, you want to make sure your coloring is accurate.
Correct.
I think when you're selling used goods, pictures are very, very important. And then, of course, after that, you're listing. But you hit the nail on the head with pricing. I'm trying to discount older items right now that have been sitting in my new store, that have been sitting in no action, no best offers, no extra, watchers or anything like that. So I'm trying to go back and relist those, sell similar like you said. So I appreciate that, Brian.
All right. So I think the next part of that is for your listing. I'll go ahead and cover that is your buy, right? So if you're buying these items on the buy, you kind of typically know, especially in your niche, when you niche down, what you're looking for, what's your game plan of how long it takes for you to list the item, right, to get it available to the public to buy. But also, one we just covered was how are you going to take those photos? Not everybody's set up to do clothing because you typically would need a bigger area, but you might be more inclined to do Funko Pops. You don't need that much area. Funko Pops are small, so and easier to light and make sure that you don't have the glare through the plastic windows. It's a little easier to manage. So for me, I enjoy doing small like collectibles and toys because you can almost treat it like a mini photo shoot, right? So and you see a lot of people, especially with ads and things like that. Think of your listings when you're taking photos, right? They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. So we don't have that much wording to be able to put in a description. So we need to take the best quality photos, of course, like what Brian was telling us. But if we don't buy correctly, there's no point in creating that listing. So when we buy the item, when you do the research for it, let's say you're buying let's take a hat for instance, right? 5950 is a really good brand, or a Zephyr is a really good brand. Those brands, you're going to start there, and then you're going to move into the style of the hat, and then you're going to move into the team or the affiliation, and that's just part of the process. Just like with Funko Pop, no one's going to be looking for. Let's do Harry Potter, for instance, right? Harry Potter is going to come up with such a broad area, right? So if you're looking for a Funko Pop, what are you going to start with? Funko Pop. Then the name of the pop, Harry Potter, which is the classification per se. And then you put the name of the pop. Now, some people can get away with just putting the name right after, but it's how they define what they're looking for. So I think if you're not searching and learning how you search right before when you're buying the item, keep in mind when you're searching for the item to find out what the solds are, if you can't easily pull that up, what makes you think your eBay potential buyers are going to be able to find it as well? Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of keep that in mind of you're searching the same way they possibly will be. So you need to keep that in mind. So I think that's the biggest thing is sourcing kind of teaches you the listing, right? So like we were talking about the keywords, what words are you looking for to find that item? So I think keywording, the pictures, and sourcing it correctly and knowing what words to use for your title is the biggest part. So what you think about that, Scott?
I think all those things are great. I think also item specifics when you're going through and clicking out, you want to make sure, like Brian was saying, that you're putting in the right color, putting in the right description, and also putting in the right brand. Because if you're selling a Zephyr hat and it's not a Zephyr hat, then it's gonna throw everything off. So I totally agree with everything you said on that. The pictures are the first thing that grab you. So I use Photo Room, mm-hmm. and I know some people use gray backgrounds, and I know some people use white backgrounds, but I think Photo Room's been working great for me. My pictures have been popping on that. I don't know which one is better. I know people have gone back and forth, and I know Brian, you use gray background on yours?
Yeah, what's the difference with that? Like, what would be a scenario that? Because I know at one point we were thinking Google traditionally found for the process of advertisement used a white background better, but in what instance would a gray background? Oh, excuse me, I can't talk. A gray background would be better, or would you even consider like a custom background, like what they do with advertisement? So when would that be a good thing?
Well, Chris, Daily Refinement, and I'm in Tech and Sport in Chris's group, and honestly, that's where I learn a lot of my stuff. Just to be transparent, but Chris changed to a gray background, and it was funny. Like so many people followed suit. I did not. His rationale, and I see the validity in it, that a gray background gives you the most accurate color, and the most accurate color with clothing is the most important thing, especially with pre-owned.
Okay.
You don't want to oversell the item because then it can get returns. And you probably know about this more than I do, Alton, but apparently you can use grayscales or something to get the most mm-hmm. accurate color. So a lot of people switch to that gray background just to get that most accurate color.
Now, keep in mind when you are using certain part of these apps, right? So when you start messing with what I call the grayscale or even the color scale, you tend to, and that's why in pictures are important, you tend to knock out flaws. So what happens is as it smooths it out for that color, a lot of flaws, if you don't take enough pictures, flaws are going to be hidden inside that color. So where you might see a little nick in a shirt and you think, oh, it's there, they'll see it. Most people probably wouldn't catch it unless you have that photo showing that damage. So again, quality of listings and how many photos is going to save you in the long run. but I can see where color adjustments are necessary, but don't overdo it. I think the actual more important thing is getting the right lighting to begin with. So you have to make less adjustments through true light. So, and that's the other thing. Like I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out here, Scott. Your room is yellow.
I know, right?
Okay,
I lost that light last night, so yep, it's yellow.
Well, so the difference is Brian's got a more true wider background. I'm only on a little ring light, so it's a little different. So if you look at our gradients, just look at the simplicity, and this might be an easy way for you to figure out your listing, right, for your posting. Would you want to see an image with yellow-ish, maybe one with more shadows in mind, or do you want it to be more clear so you can actually see the color like Brian? So that is actually a perfect think about. If you think about lighting, how important lighting really is. So lighting is the biggest thing when you take your photo. So if you're not set up correctly with your lighting, you're doing yourself a disservice from the very beginning. And there's no amount of correction can take away that much yellow without washing Scott out.
And by the way, and you could answer this, Alton, because obviously you're a technical expert. Out of I have a fancy 5500K white light big giant box that apparently is falling apart. And it does give me those good pictures with a white background, but isn't the best possible lighting outdoors? Like if you had a covered area where you didn't get direct sunlight, but you got that indirect light, it seems like that is the actual best place.
Yeah, you're right. You are correct. So that's why you see a lot with professional photographers. Have you ever seen when they have what they call the reflective or magnetic looking they're foldable, but the reflective little signs? So what they're doing is they want to redirect. It's an indirect lighting. So having direct lighting, that's why we use diffusers. So if you think about it, you don't want things shining directly at you. You want it to be bounced off in even amounts of light in 2 or 3 different directions. And that's what that big sign does. It actually takes the light, reflects it evenly into an area versus taking it all on at one shot. So is straight on lighting better than no lighting? Absolutely. But as you start growing and creating better and better listings, you'll learn how one light here at maybe half the volume of light versus a really bright light way up high behind you might be the better part. But yeah, outdoor lighting typically is the best lighting. That's why you see most beautiful pictures are taken outside, especially with family photos. And that's what I tell you. If you really think about it, we have all the tools we need to create the perfect listing hanging in our house. If you have photos that have ever been professionally done, they're templates for you. So match the color to those. So I think that's a good way to look at it. So I think outdoor is the best, but most people have to take pictures indoors. I think that's most things you don't want outside, either because of environmental or it might be too cold or whatever. But some things are better outside, but most products are not better outside. So I think we have to really do the best we can. And they actually make lighting now that you can change the color temperature. So I think having a basis of white light, which are what they call the traditional bright or warm lights, don't really work well because you lose too much true color. But starting with a true bright white and then adjusting your colors and angles will help satisfy enough of that sun perspective. So it's a variant game. So depending on your room, how much light's in that room, you have every situation is different. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do for Scott though is recommend him buying a daylight bulb.
We have a puppy, a 6-month-old puppy,
right?
And it ate. I don't know where it is, but it ate through the cord the other night. So you could blame the puppy for that one. But, if you want to send any sponsorship my way, go ahead and we can throw a plug up there for you.
That's too funny.
Yeah,
we'll get lighting done there.
Exactly. I think I want to talk about returns a little bit.
Okay.
If that's okay with you guys. I know this is the season of returns. I haven't gotten any yet. Fortunately, I did have one that was requested, but she was outside the 30-day window. And she was fine with a partial refund. But it's the return season. So any returns for you guys, or how are you dealing with returns right now?
Not yet, but I think with mine, I did cut mine off a little sooner just because of the thresholds with eBay. Now, I did have I had to kind of go through this partial refund. I don't know if y'all remember, sold the 30 video games that were the same title. That could be my sell of the week, but I'll discuss this part. 2 of them came back damaged so something hit the box and it went through it and it cracked 2 of the CDs. So instead of me doing a return, I'm actually working with Amazon because all 30 items did arrive. So I'm working on how to do a partial refund. I've never done a partial refund through Amazon when it comes to being an item completely fulfilled. It's different if it never showed up or anything. That's easy.
Right.
But when I got to take a percentage in 2 items, there's a lot more things to do. I didn't know that. So it's a process. But as far as returns, I don't think they're going to be as bad. But I don't think so. If you negate yourself that 5 to 10%, which we always know is throughout the year, I think it's going to be about the same. I don't foresee a lot of people wanting to return. I guess it depends on your niche. I think Brian's used to it with returns for clothes. Like he's at that same percentage. So I don't know. I think returns are just inevitable. I mean, I think people see it as more returns when in percentage wise, it's not. It's just your volume of items sold goes up. So you only see, like Brian said, you only see the bad, right? So you see, oh, well, normally I sell 100 items in 3 months or whatever that number is. I got 1 or 2 returns. Oh, well, I sold 500 items this month. I got 15 returns. Oh, well, because you sold a whole lot more. Potential for that negative is greater than your Q4. So I think it's good, though. I think that's a good way to look at it is just don't think of it as more returns. Just think of your volume went up to have those returns. So
it's a great way to look at it. Brian, any thoughts?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Alton. I think returns are maybe 2 to 3% of my business. Say maybe 3%. I haven't looked at the return percentages lately. And since I sell primarily pre-owned clothing, there's a couple of things like tying it back into your quality listing. If you take good pictures, make sure you don't try to hide the flaws. Point them out. Point out the flaws. Take close-ups of the flaws. Describe the flaws. Let the buyers know, because surprisingly, some items, even clothing, will sell with flaws. You might have to price it a little bit lower. And some items are actually even preferable. Like a lot of jeans that are distressed, trashed, holes, that's the look they're looking for. So they want that. Carhartt wear, that grungy work industrial look, people like that. But if you're selling a Brooks Brothers dress shirt, well, and that's a different story. But make sure you show the flaws, number one. Describe the flaws. And with all that being said, we're humans, and we're every once in a while it's going to slip through the cracks. Like I had a return that came in today. It was a pair of AG women's jeans. And even though I took 10, 11, 12 pictures, it looked like there was a tear on the back pocket. And I looked at it on the listing and it was there. But I didn't examine it up close when I was taking a photograph. And so when I got the return back, I looked up close and it was actually a rip in the jeans. And I was like, you know what? She's absolutely right. She returned it for arrived damage, which is not good because that hurts us in the metrics. But I went ahead and refunded her for the item and the shipping. And in that case, I trashed the item. But I will say, I think this is what really gets resellers upset, or what I call the false INADs. An INAD is an item not as described. And if your service metrics that eBay tracks, if those get to the very high level, eBay will act as your rated versus your peers, whoever those are. eBay will hit you with a 5% penalty, and that could be hundreds or even thousands of dollars a month, depending on the volume that you're doing. But there is a way to report these buyers when they're now, like the case I was telling the AG jeans, she was right. That was my bad. I fully refunded her. I got a item not as described, and that's on me. I should have caught it. But like I had a return that came in the other day, and they said it was defective or damaged. And then in the comments, they said, these are 36 by 29 jeans. They don't fit like my other 36 by 29 jeans. Well, but here's the thing. A lot of people get upset when they see those returns and they get into arguments with the customers. I didn't say anything because I do 60-day free returns because that allows me to get more sales. And the percentage of the returns, like Alton was saying, is small. So they get the return label, I get it back. I look at the return details, I look at the item, and this is what I do. And once again, I have a video on this on false INETs, which can save you hundreds or thousands of dollars if you get a lot of these. And so what I did is I reported the buyer, and in the comment section, I put buyer misclassified the return. This item did not arrive damaged. And I even used their exact words. The customer said, quote, 36 by 29. I'm like, this should have been classified as an item doesn't fit return. I refund them their original purchase. I'm not going to take half of their money. Like somebody I heard tell me that. I won't do that, but I refund all their money because I've got my item back, which I can resell. I do withhold the shipping, and I've reported them. To me, the reporting is the most important thing, because what you will see when you report them, eBay people actually look at it, and a lot of those they will fall off your metrics and they won't count against you. And I didn't know that for a long time, and I actually hit that 5% return during the summer. And I'm like, and it cost me hundreds, almost $1,000 in with that 5% penalty. So I had to figure it out. So don't be scared of returns, but at the same time, let's report those buyers that are truly being dishonest. Because and here's the last thing, I know I'm talking too much. I know some resellers this is their thought, their logic. Well, it's not worth me for paying for the return item because I only spent $3 or $4 on the item. It's cheaper. Well, what we're doing is we are training these buyers to scam the system, and it's hurting all of us resellers. Don't do that. Make them return it, issue them their money, and guess what? That item sold. Now it has sales history. I relist it, and it typically sells, and I'll even raise the price a little bit, and I will usually get it for more money. So don't be scared of returns, but don't let the small percentage, and it is a small percentage, don't let that small percentage of fraudulent buyers affect you mentally or financially.
I agree, Brian. That's a great tip to have the item come back, because sometimes they don't return it, and you get the item, the INAD to fall off. So that's a great tip. All right, I think we're at that time that we're going to do the what sold of the week.
Yeah,
I think Alton also has some guests with him. I think he wants to introduce some of the guests with him, because I know he's undisclosed locations, so maybe he wants to talk about that. Oh, he's on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry, man. So some of the kids in here were trying some, I guess, spicy stuff in the background, so I had to mute that for a second. Carolina Reaper. Oh no. Okay. But for me, we're already into the sale of the week. Mine's actually going to be the Find on Vacation, because as y'all remember, I'm actually in Kansas right now. So we actually went to the Goodwill here up the road, and I found some brand new hats. Now, these are only Indianapolis Colts. This order sell really nice. It's brand new. I only paid $1.99. It even has the sticker still in it. $1.99. So found several of those. Some of them are used 99 cents in perfect condition. I'm looking at even that Colts hat being like a $20 to $25 hat. Easy, especially with what Scott was telling me, with the Colts doing substantially better moving into this part of the season. It might actually sell pretty quick. So that'll alone pay for all the other hats. And we had some cool finds. I mean, I even had this one. I had to look it up, but this is a really cool one, the little bull hat. But it's I like the color scheme. But several hats like that. I mean, it's really cool to see the difference in the Goodwills here versus Goodwills at home. So it's been a great little source today to kind of get out. We're going to go to more over the weekend. So might have some more finds to ship home, because these are all getting shipped home, because I ain't putting these in my luggage to come home. So
very good.
Yeah. What did you find? Or what did you sell this week?
I can definitely show that. One thing on the Colts, they are on HBO's Hard Knocks, which is a series that the Dallas Cowboys were on during the summer, but now they're on during the winter. They have the in-season one, and that's why.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys, exactly. So if you haven't caught that series, it's a great series. It's behind the scenes of all the players. Like I said last time, was the Dallas Cowboys during the preseason, and right now it's the Indianapolis Colts. So anyways, I will share my screen, and I have a really nice one here. Okay, share. Oops. I'm going to get this right eventually. Oh, no, I'm not. There we go.
Yeah, we go. If we have to, you can always just discuss it. That's fine.
No, I want to show this.
You want to show this one? Okay,
Yeah,
I got you.
I want to show this one. So, can you guys see that screen?
Yes, we can see that. All
right. This is a Supreme hoodie with Louis Vuitton collab.
Right.
And if you could see this sold right before Christmas, before we went on our break, for $892. I did do a 10% discount on there, so that was on there. But it got shipped, it got delivered, and no positive feedback yet, but no returns, no comment from the buyer. So a nice thing that I picked up from the Benz, paid less than $2 for it, gave him a 10% and went on my way. So that is my sell of the week.
That is awesome. I think that's going to be the sell of the profit for the year.
Yeah,
probably like the best ROI for the year.
My sales have been pretty low, though. That did help my sales. If you could see my sales that were down 6.3 in the last 31 days, but I still had a great Christmas and great 90-day total and great. My 90-day total is almost 10,000 again. So
that is awesome.
Yep, loving that, loving the new store, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's an amazing sell. Like that's spectacular.
Yeah, I was impressed. I've been waiting to share it.
I know.
Wow,
it's been a couple weeks, so you got to.
It's been a couple weeks. Yep. I didn't want to jinx it either, so I didn't say anything. So.
All right. Well, now that it's delivered and it's been hopefully past enough time, they're not going to return that. So
it's close to 30 days now. It's only about a week left, I think.
Right. So by the time we hit the new year, and that's the thing that's the beauty of that is people forget things during the holiday.
Yep.
So and you're already coming up on that time frame. By the time I think you're good. But again, it's always better to be safe than sorry. Hold that money until the return, the big money anyway.
Yep. So thank you guys. Ryan?
Wow. Okay. Of course, I've got to follow that up.
I should have went last. Sorry.
Yeah, you should.
I was excited. I want to go first.
Excellent. So, all right. Let me know. That's sharing.
Yep.
All right. So, here are like here are my four highest over the past few weeks because I don't remember which one was the last I shared. So I'll just briefly kind of touch on a couple of these. Two of the four, even though I'm a clothing seller, are pieces of jewelry. I bought a 5x5 storage unit, an abandoned storage unit, a couple of months ago, and there was a backpack that I just neglected to go through, and I finally one day looked through it. I found this tennis bracelet and this sterling silver another bracelet. I actually bought a diamond tester because I wasn't sure if these were diamonds, and sure enough, it tested out. So it was a DBJ sterling silver diamond tennis bracelet over 1 carat. With shipping, it sold for $100. This Native American I'll pick this one up. This Native American Navajo bracelet. With shipping was like $130 something, and it's also sterling silver, and it has on the back right here, it has the engraving, and I'm definitely not a jewelry expert, but being an everything seller at my beginning reselling stages, I feel confident when I find things I can still figure out what they are. And the engravings of S. Ray and sterling told me this was sterling silver. I went on Terapeak, looked up comps, and this thing sold for like $130. So that one little storage unit delivered, a couple $100 worth of jewelry. I also sold a pair of Nike shoes for $160 from it months ago. And then here you see a Polo Ralph Lauren blazer for $111. And this was a flea market find, a USA soccer jersey 2014. I paid $3 for it at the flea, and it sold for $109. So a little bit of variety for me.
Heck yeah, man.
Which is kind of fun. But clothing is still, most of my money comes from bread and butter mall brands that I do the volume. But it's
I think that's where people will learn is that we have such variety. Like, it's okay and great to niche down like Brian's doing, but always keep yourself open to those home runs, no matter what the category is. Like, I'm not big into clothing, but as I'm learning. I'm already hearing some of those name brands, and I'm like, oh, I know that one, and it's helping me grow. And eventually, I'll be ready to step into that. So we'll get there. But I'm liking the fact that you're showing some of the more hard. I call it more hard goods. All right, so like you're showing the bracelet, more items that are not in your niche, because I think it helps us all learn together. So
helps me.
Well, and I think that's a good point, is when you're outsourcing, if you see something that's worth money. Now, I wouldn't buy a giant nativity scene right now and hold on to that for a year. But like, if you see small things that are easy to ship and they're worth good money, I mean, it's kind of foolish not to pick those up. But don't make that the majority of your business.
Right.
It's
all right. Well, this is
great you say that, Brian, because last year I picked up a Avon nativity canvas. It was like a little calendar, and it was fabric, and it sold for a couple $100 just for that. I picked that up for Christmas and sold a couple days, so I will pick that up, but maybe not a nativity scene. So, but anyways, I think we're at the end of the show. You could definitely listen to this on Spotify and iTunes. Elton's going to be uploading this Tuesday, right? I'm just kidding.
No, I'm on vacation. No, actually, so you're going to have to give me that. So the last episode we just filmed, I'm halfway done editing that, but me being on vacation, we're going to be about a week behind. I'm hoping next week I should be able to catch this episode up and the one before it. So, yeah, just be catching us out on Spotify and iTunes. We'll get them up there up to date.
Give us a listen while you're in the car and get our numbers up and help us out there. And then next year we're going to be on the new channel. So that'll be, I guess we'll start just the same time that next week. And you want to tell us the channel, Alton?
Yeah, it's actually the same as here. It's gonna be the Reseller Roundtable on the YouTube. So if any time with that, you message us. If you know us on here, help us spread the word. The Reseller Roundtable on YouTube, and I believe that is about it.
That's
I think I actually have the email set up on Spotify now, so you can ask questions. So you can more than welcome to do that to the Reseller Roundtable at gmail.com. So other than that, I think we're good to go.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming by. Thank you, Brian. Texas Traders, so you could go subscribe to them there. Alton, Addicted to Hustle. You could go subscribe to them there on YouTube. And then also me, Dumpster Diver Dad. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
All right, good night, everybody.
Bye.